about how to navigate unmanageable spaces in the workplace. We have alum that are here that are also employees, as well as professional employees, whether alum or not. They are invested in your future. And I just want to start off with you guys. Could you guys just give them a round of applause because they are very busy people and they did not put me through anything to say yes to come to see you guys, like how, some other some other yeah, like some other engagements can be. So in going through the topic, the last thing that I wanted you guys to do is not be educated, right, on what a toxic work environment can be. I'll end up using unmanageable spaces with toxic work environment because um, yeah, I actually have no choice. As far as that's pretty much what it is in the literature. So I'm going to start off by talking about a little bit about toxic work environments, and then I'm going to let each panelist introduce themselves. Where am I at? It's popping up. All right. Share. And also, if you are a scholar here, you guys do realize that this is your last, yeah, one of your last engagements. Really, if it's a real engagement, it is the last one. So the individuals that we have here today, of course, we have Miss Pia Stokes, Miss Andrea Wilson, Miss P. Well, I'll let you explain who you are and where you work. We also have Miss Ursula Harvey, Mr. Jeremy Strickland, as well as Dr. Terrell Holmes. And so, what is considered a toxic work environment? And essentially, a toxic work environment is one where negative behaviors such as manipulation, bullying, yelling, and so on are so intrinsic to the culture of the organization that a lack of productivity, a lack of trust, high stress levels, infighting, and discrimination become the norm. And so you guys know that this is extremely important because we always want to make sure that we're developing a rhythm while you're here at Dell State for where you are to embark on next, whether it's going to be graduate school or gainful employment. And so even in areas of graduate school in spaces like that, anywhere that you have to deal with two people or more or various personalities, you can come this actually can manifest. So how to identify a toxic workplace? And these had transitions. Of course, you can have fatigue and illness. Toxic workplaces often make you feel burnt out, tired, and ill due to your stress level. You can have little to no enthusiasm, high turnover. You'll notice that individuals are more or less into cliques, exclusions, and gossip, as well as stifled growth. Yep. So now we're going to change over to our panelists, uh, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. They're gonna let you know with, of course, their name, their affiliation, the title in which they hold, and a little bit about what they do. Okay, and we'll start off with Miss Ursula Harvey.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Ursula Harvey. I am the Executive Director of the Office of Alumni Relations. I am also an alum, a DSU alum. My office, we work with the alumni to engage them not only with each other, but also with the students to help with programming, scholarships, different talks or chats that we're setting up. I am actually in the alumni house now, so look for a lot of the chat information to start coming out, where we'll actually have alumni come on campus to speak with you about, like we're doing right now, casual chat about life, about your major, about the route that you want to take professionally, professional development, all of that. So please look out for that, and I'm glad you guys are here.
Miss Andrea Wilson.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrea Wilson, and thank you, Dr. Meredith, for tapping us on the shoulder to be a panelist today. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I am the Executive Director of Application Services here at Delaware State University. What does that mean? That means I oversee the banner application here. So basically, almost every single department here, financial aid, finance, admissions, student accounts, they all interact with the banner system. And my team supports our functional areas and ensuring that they're able to complete their daily processes. I'm also responsible to making sure that the systems are up and available, and I also manage Banner self-service. So Banner self-service is going to get a complete upgrade very soon. So looking forward to all of the students participating and being able to take advantage of our new upgrade. In addition, my team supports all of our third-party applications. So you may have worked with Campus Logic or Bank Mobile to get your refunds. My department works with those external vendors to make sure data is flowing and that those systems are operable. So look, very excited to talk today.
Okay. Next, Miss Pia Stokes.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm coming with the energy. I had my coffee, I had my caffeine, so you're gonna get all this energy. All right. So good morning, good morning. Happy to be here. Thank you. I reiterate Ms. Wilson's sentiments. Dr. Meredith, thank you very much for just saying, hey, can you be available? Absolutely. So I am Ms. Pia Stokes. I've been with Delaware State University for a little over 11 years. Feels like 20 years because it's been a phenomenal time here. But no, I currently am the Director of Grants Development and Management in the Division of Institutional Advancement. What does that mean? I write and manage and seek out grants from private funders to pay for various things for you guys. So scholarships, programs that you're in, funding to go to conferences, name it. So it's more of a behind the scenes role. But I love doing it because it is in a place to create an impact that you may never even meet me, right? A lot of you have, but still. But I love being in a place and space to make the impact. Over my 11 years, I've been in different roles to just kind of do the same thing and engage. I would say the most important role that I have here that's been adjacent to any role that I've had, and probably all of us, the administrators on this call, is to be an advocate for you guys. Whatever role that we've ever had here at this university, all of us have always and will continue to be advocates for you guys, speaking up in rooms that we need to speak up for you guys. That's why we're here, talking to you guys offline, mentoring, mentor-mentee relationships. So that's probably for me the most important role that I have here. I unfortunately I did not graduate from Delaware State University. I did grow up here. I did, however, graduate, and I'm a proud alum of Morgan State University. But I say Morgan State got me here. Delaware State is paying me. So, I love both. I represent both. So excited to see you guys, join you guys, and to engage. So thank you.
Dr. Terrell Holmes.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. We're going to get rid of that Morgan State energy. We're going to bring some more Delaware State University energy here. I don't know why she did that. I have no idea, but we're gonna let her be great today. But no, I'm not gonna mess with Pia. Good morning. My name is Terrell Holmes. I am the Associate Vice President for Strategic Initiatives here at the university. In a nutshell, I help to oversee the DSU downtown campus. I've been at the DSU downtown campus since day one, since we acquired the campus, helping to just oversee essentially all the aspects of the DSU downtown campus, as well as oversee the strategic plan, oversee transformation initiatives, and anything else they ask me to do. So you may have seen me on the DSU downtown campus, especially if you live down here. And I've been at the university for about 19 years next month. That's crazy. 19 years next month. Prior to coming to the downtown campus, I was the university registrar and I worked in student services. And very, very excited to share some information with you today. You are the reason why I'm here. I'm a Delaware native, born and raised, went away for school, came back here. And the first thing I wanted to do was impact my community. So I'm doing that at the HBCU. I have my dream job and I love every minute of it. So thank you for having me.
All right, Mr. Jeremy Strickland.
Good morning, everyone. I'm looking like, how did I get here? Like, wow, such great panelists. So thank you for inviting me, Dr. Meredith. Jerry Strickland, born and raised in Chicago. Shout out Delaware State Hornets, class of 2004 with Alex. Currently, I serve as the Director of Outreach with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. So we do a lot of outreach, community engagement. We're in the business of connecting youth and families to nature, green spaces, and the great outdoors. So we manage all the state parks throughout the state of Illinois. But prior to that, where I had my most challenging um, career start was I'm a wildlife biologist by degree and by trade. So I worked for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And as we get along with the panel discussion, that's kind of where I'm going to show where I had my most difficult uh, situations. Currently, with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, I am in my dream job. So again, shout out to all the other panelists of what they're doing uh, for the next generation of uh, professionals. Pleased to be here. Did I miss anything, Dr. Meredith?
No, you didn't, but I will definitely. I just want to say thank you for being here. Jeremy is one of my day ones. It's only four of us from Dell State that are, well, we clicked with everybody, but throughout all of these years of being graduates, which will be 20 years this year, yeah, in May, it's four of us and we're real tight. So I appreciate you for being here. And I just want to let the panelists know that at times I'm going to call on maybe one or two of you for a specific question because I know all of you all intimately, right? And so I know how we could actually piggyback off of other stories. So after I ask those two questions, after I ask those two panelists, if there are other panelists that just want to chime in and just say, hey, then please go for it. So we know what a toxic work environment can be. We know how to identify them as well. Many of you guys have had experience managing and being in a managerial role within organizations. So with that being said, how have you addressed unmanageable behavior or situations in the workplace? And I'm gonna start with Dr. Terrell Holmes.
So I knew you were going to start with me with this. So hopefully I set the tone correctly.
Okay.
Oh man, this is the question of the day. This is the $1 million question. So I think that one of the things that you can always look to see signs of unmanageable or toxic work environments, you have to look at the leadership. And that's not always directly at the top. You want to look at what we call middle managers, your mid-level leadership, which are really the ones that control kind of your day-to-day operation of a university. For instance, in a university structure, your president, they get all the camera time, people know them, based on the handshakes and the meeting folks and all that sort of stuff. But really you can tell an environment by the middle managers and what type of atmosphere they kind of cultivate in an area. That's the biggest thing. And then I'm always looking at, I know when I apply for a job, sometime I'll ask like, who's the last person that was here? How long were they here? And if you're getting in a situation where, you're having challenges keeping people longer than 6 months, 8 months in a job or in a position, you may have some challenges there, whether it is cultural related issues, climate, culture related issues, or you have a work balance issue where there's too much pressure, too much work on that particular position or area. So those are some of the signs that I can think of right offhand. I don't want to, again, take too much time.
Also, how have you addressed it? So in the areas in which you've led, how have you had to address any situations to maintain a non-toxic work environment?
Right.
Like, have you had to either call somebody on the carpet, put them through training?
Right. So I think as a manager, you always want to protect as many people as you can from that toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
So you protect the people that don't have the toxicity that aren't promoting it. And I think so you protect the good folks, and then the bad folks, you can't you can't operate emotionally. And I think I've said this, and I try to give advice to those that ask me for it. You can, in a toxic environment, the first thing we want to do is leave or quit or lay someone out, right? Those are emotions. Emotions go away, but my career is here to stay. So you want to deal with those emotions, manage kind of how you feel, identify how you feel. But truth be told, you're going to have negative people, negative energy wherever you go. So you don't want to approach that from an emotional standpoint. You truly want to be more logical, because this is your career. That what you do in that boardroom and that conference room determines how far you go. So let the emotions go away. Sometimes you don't answer the email the first time. You might have to let that email sit there and not answer it. Give it a day. Give it a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
There have been many emails I've written and then I had to rewrite.
And also, go ahead.
Go ahead. I don't know. And then I've had to rewrite, and then I've rewritten. So be patient with yourself, and don't feel like you. I would say don't react, but respond.
And also there was something else I was going to add to what you were saying, but I saw Jeremy had out that pen. Originally, I was gonna call on somebody else. So, Jeremy, what are your thoughts in the situations that you've had to be in, to where you've had to address unmanageable behavior, and how did you address it?
Okay, I'll start with an example, if I could, just to
Okay.
lead. So, back in my U.S. Fish and Wildlife days, I was the youngest person on the crew, the only African American male. The maintenance crew had been there for like 30 years. And so they were so accustomed to doing things how they wanted to, what was convenient for them. But the nature of my job was to conserve and protect natural resources. So me being a new biologist, I would actually be out there collecting data to tell the story as to how we should manage the grass, when should we mow the grass, when the animals are not active, to reduce mortality. But anyway, so I'm coming off of a shift late. They knew that I was from Chicago, born and raised. I like old muscle cars and big dogs, so they kind of associated that with that like thug mentality, even though I didn't carry myself like that. So one of the maintenance guys locked himself out the car, and he's like, "Oh, well, I know Jeremy's coming. He's from Chicago. I'm sure he knows how to break into cars." And I just was like, "Are they joking or not?" But to make a long story short, I didn't put an end to that, draw that line, and it kind of carried on months and months to, let's say, if one of the buildings were broken into, they'll make a joke like, "Oh, well, Jeremy, did one of your cousins come down here?" And so I started just noting and documenting everything, and you have to stay your ground. So I kind of normally, instead of reacting, I kind of set them up to like make a smart remark during a staff meeting. And then I went and spoke to my manager, and then I had this notebook. I'm a hoarder at taking notes, and uh, I documented to my manager, and then he required all staff to take like diversity, equity, and inclusion training, and that kind of trickled up to becoming a national like guideline within the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And then they even used me to go out to the National Conservation Training Center to kind of do role playing, and I was like the face for the whole. So I just started from nothing and blossomed into this. But you got to stay your ground. You got to set boundaries. It's okay to be different. So, and that bullying is real. Bullying is real in this professional world. Find a mentor, and I could talk all day for this. But if you can find a mentor that you can trust, that you can go to, that's kind of have a neutral level of input, where they can't judge you and they can kind of give you feedback back based off of their experience. I don't know where I'd be without a mentor. I promise you. I don't know if Dr. Barczewski still appears, but I tell you, I don't know where I'll be without Dr. Barczewski, Dr. Kenneth Bell, and these are people like 20, 25 years ago. All right, Alex, I'll shut up because I could.
No, you're fine. But I am going to transition into another question, for the ladies. So, how important is it for employees to set boundaries in an unmanageable work environment? And what are some effective ways to do so? I'm going to start with Miss Ursula Harvey, because one thing about Miss Harvey, she is very humble. And until I got to see her resume, I didn't know all of the places that she sat. And so I really do want to know what you mean, because Miss Harvey, when I first started working with industry, that was always her thing to me. Stand your ground, because she comes from corporate. I've always been academia. So what are some boundaries that you've had to put in place?
Okay, well, first, let me just let everybody know that yes, I do come from corporate. I work with investment banking firms in New York City. I am a New Yorker from the Bronx for 20 plus years. And then I went back and got my master's in psychology, worked several years with pharmaceutical companies. And then I made my way here because I was the New Jersey vice president of the New Jersey alumni chapter. And I worked on campus with students and got the bug to be around you guys. And so I'm here. Now, in terms of corporate America, I came up and around when there was no Me Too. So as a woman, you had to set boundaries. And my first job was working with a very 500 Fortune company on the trading floor. And I was on the trading floor, and I was one of maybe 10 women on a trading floor with 60 men. So at any given time, I was a little thinner than what I am now, but any given time, there was talk, oh, baby got back, or whatever, as I'm walking by. And that was, now back then, I was definitely a hothead. And I'm going to, and I make this reference so that you guys understand that you have to grow. So it was either I was going to curse them out on the floor, because that's how that environment was anyway, or they was going to get punched in the arm or something. But there was no reporting it to your superior, because your superior was participating in the foolishness. Now you have Me Too, so you can go to HR. You can say, this is how I felt. This made me feel uneasy. But you have to set boundaries as a woman, because you will have men who will sort of be predatorial at work, and or say something inappropriate that makes you feel uncomfortable. Report it. Report it to your HR rep, and they'll handle it. I did have a young lady that reported into me. She worked with a gentleman that didn't understand that she was in the reserves. And so she had to, when they called, she had to go. And he was upset about that, because she wasn't going to be there to do something for him. So to punish her, when it was a Christmas party, he made her do all this extra work and told her that if she went, she wouldn't have a job when she came back. So she came crying to me. I went and immediately reported it to my manager, who told her, go ahead and go and leave. Don't worry about it. But when she came back, her boss was no longer her boss. So it is important that you have to set boundaries with people, because if you don't, they will get away with as much as you allow them to. And that's with anything. But it's the same thing with corporate. I have been called, because like I said, I was in an investment banking world. I have been called the angry Black woman, and that's fine. But I'm going to fight for what is right always. And if that means that you want to you go ahead. I don't answer to that title, but you can go ahead and give it to me. Okay. So those are boundaries that you have to set as a woman. You have to also know your worth. If they're not valuing what you're bringing to the table, then you have to reevaluate whether that place is for you. So one of the things that I'm very proud of, that I have to pat my back on with Dr. Terrell Holmes, is that he said you can't look at things from an emotional standpoint. And in my beginning years, I did. I was emotional. I am most of the panel knows, I am very opinionated. I am very opinionated. When I feel like something's right, I'm going to talk about it. I don't care if you're the president or the janitor. I'm going to tell you. especially when it comes to the students. This is why we are here. And anything else, you know, you can keep that. I don't do the politics. I don't do all of that. That's just not who I am. I'm here to do a job and I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to deal, like I said, I'm not going to deal with people that are trying to obstruct for whatever reason. Some of the other things that when you talk about a toxic environment is people that maybe feel intimidated by you. So they make things rough for you. You have to learn how to deal with those people. You can't wait for them outside at the parking lot after, this is not high school. You have to learn how to deal with them appropriately. And that's, like I said, one of the biggest things that I will say to students, have a paper trail. Whenever you have a conversation with somebody, go back, especially if it's a toxic person, go back and say, I just want to understand, this is the conversation we had. This is what we discussed. Is this correct? That way, when there's an issue, you can go to your HR person. Here is all of the information that I have regarding our interaction, and they can handle it. So those are some of the boundaries that I would say that are important. And I say for women because, men go through a lot. Absolutely. Especially our Black men. Shout out to you guys because I've seen it firsthand. You go through a lot, but you have to set boundaries when you're dealing with these people. You can't deal with an emotion when you have to deal with somebody that's difficult. Just as Dr. Holmes says, you have to sometimes step back. And I've had to do that myself. Step back. People, y'all know it. Step back and say, okay, I'm not going to write that email because I wrote the email and I wrote it from emotion and I see all the craziness right now. So
I definitely applaud you, and I thank you for your feedback. But I also wanted to hit on the note of, this work-life balance, right? But then if you're in a high volume area like Miss Wilson is and Miss Stokes are, can either of you all just chime in the sense of, outside of being a woman, how do you put boundaries in place when you are getting high volumes of work? And also that ties into that high volume of what Mr. Strickland was saying of being bullied, right? Because you can have a manager, a boss that you already have high volume, but maybe they don't feel like working, or they feel like they should just be in a delegative area. How are some, and I'm not saying that this is happening in either of you ladies' areas, but I'm just saying, can you speak from a high volume standpoint on boundaries that you've had to set? And I'll start with you, Miss Wilson.
Sure. Thank you. All right. So in my area, for the most part, I'm working on various projects, and almost every single department at the institution might need some type of technical assistance at once. And so what I have to do is manage those projects and manage those expectations of the projects. So that's what I have to do. Unfortunately, I have a small team, but we do our best with managing those projects. But in addition to that, a lot of times I have to put out fires. There's emergencies that happen. And so I have to be very diligent with setting expectations and priorities, and with my team as well. If there are things that are due next week, but you're really passionate about another project, the project that you're passionate about is going to have to sit tight for a moment, because we need to address the priority, which has a deadline of next week. In addition to that, what I found a lot with this role, again, I work in tech, is that sometimes I would go home and work additional hours. I would work 3 and 4 hours sometimes. I would work on the weekends, and that really wasn't fair to me or my family. I would begin to gain weight and be sluggish, things of that sort. And I actually ended up in the hospital last year because I wasn't paying attention to the signs and to the stress. And so you have to set a clear schedule for yourself. I'm going to stop working at this time. If it's not an emergency, I will address it tomorrow. And again, it's not fair to the people that you love. It's not fair, to your spouse, your parents, your children, that you're always on, you're always working, and you're not giving them the adequate time to cultivate those relationships. In addition to that, you may have a boss who doesn't communicate a lot. And sometimes you might have to set one-on-ones with your boss. If they're kind of freelance and, they really aren't doing a good job of managing you, maybe you have to set the expectation and say, hey, I would like to meet with you, every other week just to make sure, that I'm on point, that, your priorities are my priorities, things of that sort, just to make sure that you're staying on task. In addition to that, again, with setting those boundaries, I've done better with creating time where I can reflect, purchase a gratitude journal, and everybody that I come in contact with, if they're having any type of struggles with managing time, managing their life, guess what I do? I buy them the journal, and I got it right off of Amazon, $22, and I just gift it. And now my friends who I gifted are gifting it to someone else. I'm reading books now. I'm a lover of books, but I wasn't reading. How can I grow if I'm not reading? So now I have about 12 books. And for Christmas, I asked for books. So I'm excited about that. Going back to the gym, Dr. Meredith encourages me to work out. So now I'm participating in yoga, going to the gym, and also make sure that you set aside time to vacation. You
Mm,
have time off.
I'm on
Utilize that
vacation.
time, not to just sit around the house and, go visit somewhere. Plan to visit a state or a country that you've never been at before. Save your money up and look to do at least maybe one or two vacations a year if you can. But it's very, very important for your mental and physical health that you set those healthy boundaries.
Miss Stokes, would you like to add anything as far as your boundaries? Your type of work is totally different. You do a lot with thinking and writing. So what are some boundaries that you've had to put in place?
More recently, I've got to say, one, you have to know what works for you, right? You have to know what space you work best in. If it's busy around you and you need quiet, make your space quiet, right? If you have a roommate, okay, you can only do but so much. Okay, maybe go to the library. So sometimes changing your environment definitely helps you, but knowing that about yourself. So for me, I would definitely recommend getting to know who you are, right? Your high school self is not your college self. Your college self will not be who you are in your 20s, 30s, 40s. Your base is
Mhm.
your base, yes, but you'll continue to grow and elevate and make mistakes and fumble forward. And this is the time that you do that, right? Even though we are all in our careers, right? We're still making mistakes. And it's like, oh, darn it, shoot, shouldn't have did that. I won't do it again. Right. So whether it's in relationships, it's in, with your family, with your professors, with your other classmates, you're going to make mistakes. Give yourself grace, right? Put yourself in a good environment that worked for you so you can be productive, but give yourself grace. Have a to-do list. Have like literally shut yourself out if you need to. Shut your door. Like the light, this light is on because we're on here. Otherwise, this main light will be off. I like my office is zen and dim and quiet because that's how I work. I put my music on.
And she
Don't interrupt
is.
me. And my face will tell you, don't bother me. So that's just how I operate. But I'm a nice person, but I will give you the face if I'm in the space. Like, leave me alone. So just knowing that about who you are, right? And not being afraid to say no. Either not being afraid or knowing when to say no. I'm not afraid to say no, but I'm just so nice and passionate about what I'm doing. I wasn't saying no. I was taking on everything under the sun. Oh, Pia can do it. Pia can do it. Pia can. No, I'm good. It's too much because now it's coming into what I want to do with my life, like Miss Wilson shared, vacationing, hanging out with my friends. I don't know if this is appropriate, but happy hour. I'm an avid lover of happy hours. So your thing, whatever your thing is, right? Shopping, whatever. So I couldn't enjoy those things because I was spending time working and then going home. I have a 13-year-old son. I wasn't spending as much time as I would like because I'm going home to do more work. So I'm not connected with him like I want to. My wardrobe suffered. Couldn't do the shopping that I typically do at night on my phone. I'm just being honest. Amazon loves me. I love Amazon. Nordstrom's loves me. We're friends. Okay. So when you find yourself not being who you are in your happy place, in your happy space, and you're being negative, or you are just really just short tempered with people, or again, life will pass you by and you're saying yes to everything at work, Intentions may be great, but then life is going to pass you by. You're going to look up and you'll be like, oh my goodness, I've missed
Mhm.
this, and that. How has it helped me? It's helping the other people, but it's not helping me. So setting those boundaries, that is extremely important, because again, you will look up and you'll say, oh my goodness, I've missed this. So not being afraid to say no, and you don't have to be rude with it. You can just say, I don't really, that doesn't really work for my time right now. Maybe in the future I can try that again. You can Google ways to gently let people down, whether it's a partner, someone of interest, a job, a classmate. Fine. You can't really let your professor down if you have an assignment due. I have to put that out there. So if you have assignments due in a research paper, you cannot tell your professor that you can't do that paper. So you have to do it. But just saying, like, you just have to learn, like, the extracurricular activities too. I find a lot of students, y'all want to be everything under the sun. Okay, calm down. Do you have the capacity? The only person that knows if you have the capacity is you. Know your capacity. Don't take yourself to the point where you are ready to just snap out and you're not being your best. You're showing up, but are you really there? You have bags under your eyes, your hair looks a mess. Like, what's going on? You all right? So when you get to that point and you're not really being your best self, you got to reevaluate and find out, okay, who am I? Let me take a step back. And it's okay if you're doing that and you have to then take a step back. It is okay. That's your time to reevaluate, pause. Let me take a little off my plate. And anyone that doesn't respect or understand that, they are not your people. I don't care if it's a friend, a classmate, a family member.
And can I also chime in, Ms. Stokes,
Yeah.
for the simple fact when you mentioned about extra work, don't be afraid to do extra work. One, if you do have the bandwidth or capacity to do it. But, don't also be in the mindset of as much work as I take on, I'm going to be promoted. As much work as I take on, I'm going to get more money. That's a quick way for you to be set up for trying to bite a carrot stick that is not even biteable, because it's being held away from your mouth anyway. So at the end of the day, make sure that if you are taking on extra duties and assignments, that they develop you, right? That you are taking on assignments that you are learning, you're being challenged. You can talk about these things at the interview table when you get ready to take on a new role. Because a lot of times out of struggle and adversity come these opportunities. And that was also another thing that my mentor mentioned to me when I first started at Dell State. I complained to her about a lot of different things because there were a lot of different things that I wanted to do to create impact for students. And she said, Alex, one, you're going to have to get used to, if you're going to be at a HBCU slash 1890s, that you're going to always be under-resourced. But with being under-resourced makes administration have no option but to use you because you are providing a free service outside of your role. And so those things can strengthen you to be a stronger leader in the future. So I want you to make sure that you take that with you wherever you might go. Also, when we talked about Ms. Stokes, when you just mentioned ACT, this morning I was thinking about one of my mentees and the other two I was talking to this morning, and I was explaining to them how much this mentee has grown and blah, 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 and the places that they're going to go. And the other two mentees have been with me way like 10 years longer. And I started to have to think and assess which act that they're actually in, right? Because you can get into act one. I believe in life, there's act 1 through 4. And so I see that they're still in act 1 because they're in their mid-20s and they've lost their steam and they just need to regroup so that they can come out fighting the way that they want to in act 2. And so just remember, when we're talking about those different aspects and capacity, that if you are in certain different acts, act 1 or 2, act 1, you're not going to necessarily be able to take on stuff that you're going to be hit with from act 2, right? That's why you're in act 1 to prepare. And it goes on and on and on through act 4. Also, Ms. Pia Stokes and Dr. Terrell Holmes was with us spring of 22, and these conversations always go over. So students, I will drop at 11:50 your survey, but the conversation will still continue on after this, okay? So I just wanted you to be mindful about that with the overflow. This question is definitely for everybody, and I think that it's extremely important because it's why you're here, and it's for you to give feedback about your experience, definitely, of course, your professional experience. So as one at a time, I'm going to read the question. Of course, I can speak it again, of course, from person to person, but can you share any personal experiences of successfully navigating an unmanageable work environment and what lessons were learned? And so and actually, I don't even mind starting and falling on whatever type of a sword. One thing that I did learn, and this is from a job, I don't mind mentioning it too, because it was one of my most favorite jobs. And I'll tell you, I was actually a student in high school, and I was working for AC Moore. It's been bought out by Michaels. But I got to observe a lot of managers because there were three associates and one actual manager. But the environment definitely could be toxic. It was toxic because one, it's a lower level, it's not even an entry level position. It's a retail position. And also when you have retail, you end up having a lot of turnover, right? So if you're getting people on top of people on top of people, it can create a negative environment. But one thing that I did do was I stuck it out with my integrity. I created a plan. I knew that my exit strategy was college and it was coming up. And then three, I also used it as a way to develop my keen senses on what leadership should be. And so one thing that you guys definitely, if you are in the scholar program, you know that I always come down to where you're at and then I bring you back up to where I'm at. But I learned that because one of my managers, Gary, he didn't play. He would do any and everything that I would do. He would do what the janitor did. He would, and so that just always put me in awe that here you are running this and you don't mind doing the same work that I do. So that's my experience as far as successfully navigating an unmanageable workplace. Jeremy, I'm going to start with you, especially. Oh, you had the hand up. I'm going to start with you because you've already told yours, but I'm sure that you have more.
Yeah, but
I'm sure.
I can kind of dive right into kind of like what you just said as far as like not being afraid to get your hands dirty. So when I was going back talking about those nasty maintenance mechanics that been in the Fish and Wildlife Service maintaining the refuge for 30 years before I come, they wanted to pick the coolest time of day to mow like grass prairies because it was most convenient for them. Uh, but my data was suggesting that the best time to do it is like during the hottest time of the day when, for example, turtles and snakes aren't moving. So obviously it was an inconvenience for them because it's the hottest part of the day, meaning the people, but we being there to protect the resource. So I would do my due diligence to go hop in the tractor myself. And I'd be out there mowing during the hottest part of the day. And then I think that built trust, rapport. They thought I wasn't a like know it at all, too good to be nerdy scientist. And so just being willing to lift as you climb, I guess is the point I wanted to make there. And don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. I respect a leader or a manager that isn't too good to put coffee on or something like that, just to kind of show that they're human. We're no one is better than each other, regardless our pay grade, our title, whether we go to where we get our suits from. We're all people. I mean, we just got to respect each other's feelings. But again, just stand your ground. And then I'm a quit just after this, kind of like what other panelists were saying. Just be able to respectfully push back if people are added on to your workload or your workload. Otherwise, you'll get burnt out. And yes, your Monday and Friday jobs will be wearing on you on the weekend. And then Sunday, you'll be cranky because, like, oh, I got to go to work. So it starts taking out of your personal life. Alex, Dr. Mary.
So, well, I was going to say, I'm not going to show because you guys are hitting all of the tips on the head. And the number one of the ones that you just spoke about was being the change that you want to see in your work environment.
Okay.
And that's exactly what you were able to do by saying, you know what, I'll go out here and mow. I'll just, take care of what I need to take care of. What about you, Doctor? Well, actually, I feel like Miss Wilson. Miss Wilson, what's your personal experience of successfully navigating an unmanageable work environment and what lessons were learned?
Sure, sure. So I can think back to a project that I was assigned to work on with another individual, and some of the things that were being asked of us were not necessarily ethical, and I really was uncomfortable with um, completing some tasks because ethically it just wasn't right. And so what I had to do, because again, you can't always just find a job immediately and say, I'm done with this, I need to leave. I had to find a way that we could come to some middle ground and commonality to ensure that the project was successful. And so I definitely expressed, my angst of feeling as though some of the tasks were unethical. And I listened to the reason why the other person wanted to do things. And so we kind of had to marry both of our ideas. There were some creative differences there, and we had to come to a middle ground and, write out the pros and the cons. And we came to a middle ground where with the project, there wasn't anything that we did that was unethical. We had to find some creative ways to get the outcomes that we wanted. And also, as you embark on your careers, always know that your data is going to help you. Your data is going to speak for you. Different articles and things are going to be able to help you with maintaining your position. So keep that in mind because that helped me with this particular project. So again, to Jeremy's point, model the behavior you want to see. Don't necessarily match the energy, model the behavior you want to see, and find where you can find some commonality or middle ground because the other person might not, they might thrive in a toxic environment, unmanageable environment, and you don't. So be that change, be that representative and model that you want to see.
What about you, Miss Harvey? Any personal experiences of successfully navigating an unmanageable work environment and what lessons you might have learned?
I echo what Miss Wilson says. Make sure that you are the example of what is not toxic. I did have, well, obviously quite a few, but one that comes to mind had nothing to do with me, actually. And that's another thing that you have to understand. Sometimes the situation is toxic and has nothing to do with you. I was in a position and placed into a position, and the two young ladies that I worked with, they wanted someone else in that position. So they tried to make my life difficult. And once I sat down and spoke with them, because that's what I did, I said, you know what, this is crazy. We're going to sit down and have a conversation so I can find out what's the root of the problem. And I actually just sat down and had a conversation and said, what is wrong? What do you feel like I'm doing wrong? Why am I being targeted? And the response was definitely, it's not you. We wanted so and so to be here and they chose you. I said, well, I'm here now and we're going to have to work together and understand that we're together more with each other than we are with our family. So we are some type of family. Now, this can go one or two ways. I can continue doing my job and not dealing with you, or we can have a kumbaya moment and try to find some middle ground, as Miss Wilson said. And we ended up finding a middle ground. But I learned that, like I said, you have to speak up for yourself. And it doesn't hurt to sit down and have a conversation with people. Sometimes that's all it takes. And sometimes, like I said, it has nothing to do with you.
Amen. I know that's right. Because if it wasn't, I always say if it wasn't me, it would have been somebody else, regardless.
Exactly.
So what about you, Miss Stokes?
What's the question again? I want to make sure I answer it correctly.
Yeah, I got you. So if you would like to share any personal experiences of successfully navigating an unmanageable work environment and what lessons that you learned?
Yes. Confidence is key. Not cockiness, but confidence is key. And that confidence comes from not only knowing who you are. If you don't know, figure it out. That's an ongoing, lifelong thing, by the way. Knowing who you are, knowing what you want your brand to be. Brand is who you are every day. You step foot out of your home, your room, whatever. That's who you are. Who's your brand? And being confident in that, knowing that the only person that can mess up your brand is you. People are going to talk. Haters are going to hate. Let them hate. The more haters you have, that means you're doing something correct. So being confident in knowing that, being confident in your skills and abilities, right? If you know that you are out here being rah, 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 okay, is that the best? Is that the brand you want to have for yourself? Are you posting pictures that are inappropriate? That's still your brand. So think about all of those things, right? Confidence, knowing who you are. And with that, that confidence is going to exude your work ethic, and what you do is going to exude in your everyday life. And that goes back to everything each of the panelists has said. Your work speaks for itself. No matter what anyone says about you, if you do good work and you're out here with your head held high, I mean, I've probably been lied on so very much in various situations that, and I'm like, where did I even get that from? And it's laughable. It's entertaining because, wow, you just have no timing. You have more than enough time in your day to think about these stories. Funny, ha ha ha. Meanwhile, you are carrying yourself with confidence and you're able to walk and be confident in who you are, knowing that you know your brain, you're confident in your skills, you know what it is you're doing, and you're still learning and getting better. And you're operating from a positive space. When you do good, you'll always get good. If you put out bad and do bad, you'll always get bad. So if you stoop down to their level, with Michelle Obama said, they go low, we go high. Yes, it's hard to go high sometimes. It absolutely is. Sometimes you have to have a moment, shut your door, vent a little bit, go to your car, get it out, but don't let them see you sweat. For me, that's the biggest thing. Don't let them see you sweat. Them being anyone that is against you for whatever reason. And again, it's not about you. Maybe they're insecure. A lot of times it is that they are insecure in your skills and abilities. So they think if they tear you down or say something about you or say something that's not about you, that it's going to be believed. Don't believe what they're saying. You know that's not true. So, oh, well, keep it moving. That's going to die down and fire out really quickly. So just, again, confidence is key. Knowing who you are, walk in truth and in confidence, and let the haters hate.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
What about you, Dr. Holmes? You've been over there thinking. So,
So y'all got me going down memory lane a little bit. So I would say, just to keep it short, I've been in had some moments where environments have felt toxic, and I felt smothered by that toxicity. I think what I had to do was, again, I heard someone say it begins to change who you are, what you think about yourself, what you think about your ability. It begins to question who you are and your skill set. So what you have to do, again, you're not ruled by emotions. You don't want to just go and just find another job, because there could be a great opportunity for this could be a great opportunity, a great learning environment for you. But one thing I learned, again, don't be emotional, and to fall in love with the work. So I had to literally go back to falling in love with what I did, falling in love with what I did on an everyday basis, and that being my motivation, not whether I was comfortable or not with my supervisor or people that were toxic around me. Once that happened, I rediscovered skill set. I rediscovered stuff that I hadn't done in a long time. I realized that I was good at my job. I was great at my job. And then I heard a great quote yesterday, and this is kind of what I did. When people treat you like you're nothing, leave them so that they have nothing. So what I did, when I had a moment and I had an opportunity to be promoted and to move away from that, I left them, and they were left with nothing. And
look at this. Y'all better
it worked out. So it worked out for me, and God, it worked out better for me. And truth be told, they're still trying to replace my skill set that was left. But that's on them. So sometimes the answer is to leave, but you leave on your own terms. You don't leave because someone runs you out of your space.
And usually, some of those individuals, I think that it really should be called leaving with grace, right? You want to be as gracious as possible, because one, word of mouth hurts, especially if you're going to stay in the same industry. Two, if you already know that it's toxic, why create a negative, a potential negative narrative to say, oh yeah, this is what he did when he left, and this is what we were talking about, how he was the whole time he was here. And then third, you never know if you want to come back or if they need you to come back and willing to give you anything you want to come back. So we've seen that happen too many times. And so those types of things are extremely important. And they also tie back to what Dr. Holmes was saying, that we have to make sure that in business that we are working sometimes black and white, and that we are not working in the mode of emotion. Because like Ms. Wilson also said, these things might happen to us as far as a toxic work environment, but not in the moment can we just up and get another job. And that's also a problem with some individuals, where they make the wrong decisions out of emotion and they end up out of the frying pan into the fire, right? And so some things definitely take time. Sometimes they take almost years to your perfect opportunity, that you're also, that you're ready, willing to embark on. And so my last question that I have for the panelists, and of course I'll need for everybody to answer it, but we're going to stack it. So the second half was, of course, easy, just your final advice to the DSU students. And then the first part of the question is really just support systems, right? Any and everybody knows that I'm very good at creating support systems. I've never had 7 group chats on pinned on my phone, from 3 that are just levels of colleagues to one that is just like family, to another one that's just like my brother's friends, to another one that's just alums that I kick it with. So in creating different support systems or different spaces so that people can create, so that they can have their different supports, I've noticed that people have been able to progress on. They've been able to refocus. They've been able to be in a place to where they know that it's not them. That sometimes everybody gets it. And so I think that when I speak this is that finding support is very, very real. So I know Miss Wilson did a really good job of talking on ways in which you can balance that work-life balance. But in the aspects of support, who have been some of the people or things that you've utilized to create a strong support system? And Jeremy loves to talk. So, and I'm so proud of you because this time you have been keeping it concise. Like, look at you growing up. Anyway, so I'm gonna let Jeremy start. Usually me and Jeremy are the ones that go at it between the 4 of us. He's always got something smart to say. He used to call me Carl Winslow. Uh, so yeah, when I was much, much bigger. So we've always gone back and forth. But Jeremy, well, you did say it. So, and then the other one that was funny was he would always ask me because he would always say, what's the shelf life of a Twinkie in my house? So it's all good. I crack a lot of jokes, so I don't have a problem with, talking about some of the ones that stung me as well. But Jeremy, honestly, support groups or support systems, and then as well as final advice.
I would just say, like I said, I mentioned earlier, finding a mentor, and then a group of real friends, uh, And once you find them, keep them. Uh, and that's what's kind of. It took a village to raise this child, and that's been a part of my network. And advice, just don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. If you can get involved with like a professional society or organization that's kind of in your field, I'd strongly encourage you to do that. And then just peruse those websites because sometimes they have travel scholarships that are free. And all you got to do is write like a 1-page essay, and then you can get a chance to go to a conference in a different state and meet other people. That's pretty much it. I learned so much from the other panelists as well too. I was like, God, I learned as much as from you all as the students learned from us. So thank you.
Anytime. And before, because I got some scholars that will try to drop Twinkies on my desk. I don't like them, period. Never have liked them. So if you want to get cute, bring me a Wegmans cookie, a Wegmans crumb cake. Yeah, real stuff, good stuff. Miss Ursula Harvey.
Okay, so real quick, definitely mentoring is a very big part of it. I've had many mentors in my life, including my dad. Um, so really staying with those mentors. I've had mentors that I have relationships from when I started here that I still have relationships with them. I have new relationships. Even Dr. Meredith is a mentor to me because sometimes I have to come and vent to him and Miss Pia Stokes. So, but my advice is absolutely know your worth. Always know your worth. Just as Dr. Merritt said, you will have, or I'm sorry, Dr. Holmes said, you will have people who will try to diminish, try to take away because of their insecurities and their own issues. Do not allow that. Always know your worth and understand, as my father said, you have wings, you can fly.
Come on, Wings. There's been some nuggets on here that are just speaking to my whole life and trajectory. Like, this is crazy. I'm like Jeremy. I didn't think I was going to get this much out of it, but between that, And what Dr. Terrell Holmes said about leave them with nothing, yeah, it's very empowering. Very empowering. I'm gonna Miss Pia Stokes, support systems that you might utilize as well as final advice for DSU students.
Yeah, I will try to make this very quick because I see the time. I again agree with Jeremy, Ursula. I completely agree. I've got to say, my support system, of course, God is always for me. I'm an only child, so and I'm a Taurus, so I like things a certain way. But for me, as a very private person, I got to talk to God because I'm not sharing my business with too many people, and I confide in people that I trust. So that energy, if I feel it, is real. I know I can talk to. The individuals on the call. Jeremy, nice to meet you. You're not in my circle. I'm sure you'd be if I know you, but the individuals on this call are from a work perspective. But for me, God, mainly God and my mom. So to that point, right? Things happen in life. Have a support system. Don't just have one person because life happens. So I lost my mom a little over a year ago. That was my support system, right? But I learned to expand my support system just with a couple more people, not a lot, but a couple people. Because if you don't have that support system, what do you do when they're no longer here? And you can't do anything about it, right? They can't talk back to you, talk to them, right? So make sure you strategically have a support system that works for you, that you need, right? Don't tell everybody your business because everybody doesn't mean you harm. I mean, everybody doesn't mean you good, but just look for those people that are genuine to you, have been with you, mean nothing but the best for you. They may not be able to give you everything you want, but sometimes you got to build the right person and various people. And that is okay. That is totally okay. One of your friends might be really good at having a great time. Okay, that's probably not the same person that you can cry to or vent to. Fine, but they can give you a good laugh, right? So just keep that in mind. And advice: have fun. You get one life. You have no idea when you will no longer be able to open your eyes and breathe. So live life, whatever that looks like. Be good to people and live life. You only get one, and you can't take your money with you. So
Come on.
save money, but just
Listen, Pia, let me tell you, I leave for Puerto Rico, and this is not bragging, but I'm gonna be there for 6 days by myself. Like Miss Wilson says, sometimes you gotta just do things for you. And I've been dragging about the coin. Like I've been like, gosh, but it's this and that. And so please, I'm so glad that you all are giving me confirmation to go broke. So
you need to have money to come back too. I'm just saying, like have
yeah,
something, you know what I mean? Like just
yeah, most definitely,
go.
most
But
definitely.
spend the coin. Just have some
That's
coin
right,
here.
because you can't take it with you.
Are correct. And Azure
Yeah.
Patterson had mentioned, that was the advice from from the vets that she had talked to. She was, sometimes you think about going into, vet school is medical school, and so you think that it's just going to be so rigorous and strenuous that that you shouldn't be able to enjoy life. And that was the number one regret that they actually had, was that they didn't enjoy fun along the way. Miss Wilson, and then we'll finalize it with benediction from Dr. Terrell Holmes.
Sounds wonderful. I am going to echo the sentiments of most of the panelists here. Definitely seek a mentor, join professional groups that will help to enhance where you want to go. Women leadership group, men leadership group. I'm in a women in tech group. The problems that we face are not new under the sun. So most likely there's somebody that's already went through the challenge that we have. So make sure that you connect and network with others. Let your light so shine. Don't let anybody dim your light. Don't let anybody say you're the eager beaver. Yes, I am. I'm not here to be average. I am exceptional. I'm smart. I'm amazing. I'm all those good things. Be focused. Ask good questions. Make
Mm.
sure that the companies and career choices that you pick align with your personal values and missions as well. I do have to leave, but I did want to again thank Dr. Meredith. On the behalf of the panelists, I do want to offer either 2 books or 2 gift cards to the students. And Dr. Meredith, if you can disseminate that whatever way you want, it could be the gratitude journal, books on how to grow, books on things that we talked about. But I just
No
wanted to
problem.
put that out there.
So I'll make sure I'll take the transcript of attendance that was here today. I'll chop them all up and I'll put them in a raffle, and then whoever gets it, and I'll contact you. But I thank you so much for being here and taking out the time of your day. And also, one last thing that I do want to say, just from my perspective, and students hear about it from me all the time, and I don't care because you're going to always hear it from me. Make sure, if you are getting a mentor or developing some type of a relationship, that it is a relationship. It shouldn't be somebody that you just call on to solve a problem every time that you have one. Meaning it's got to be mutually beneficial. It's got to be a give and take. You have to be able to scratch somebody else's back for them to scratch yours. So that is one essential piece to actually being a mentor, is that they're not there to work for you. They're there to also learn from you. I've learned so much from every mentor I've had. And the beautiful part about being a mentor is that you can't sit up here and teach to them and not be doing the exact same thing. So every mentor has always held me accountable to where I had to grow too, because I'm like, well, how am I going to be telling these people this and these students this, and I'm not doing it myself? So I'm going to let Dr. Terrell Holmes finish.
All right. My circle of mentors, I guess they're people on this call, right? They're people that I talk to on a regular basis. These are folks that I text and they text me. I do think it's important, as Dr. Meredith said, that you have a relationship with your mentors. You don't want to have too many. You don't want to have too many voices in your circle, but you do want to have 5 or 6 that just kind of help you move you in the right direction. These are people that challenge you, not tell you what's easy or tell you what you want to hear, but they challenge you. They make you feel uncomfortable. They make you upset. They make you mad sometimes. Sometimes you don't like them. If you always like them, they are not a mentor. They're a friend, and there's a difference. But a mentor is not a friend. A mentor challenges you. Lasting advice, what I would say, and I think I've learned this over probably the last 5 years, is don't give away your career, your earning potential, who you are, your gifts, your abilities. Don't give that power away to someone else. There have been many times where we let someone else tell us what our value is. We let someone else tell us how far we can go, how much money we can make, all those things. All that belongs to you. There is not one employer in this world. There's not one supervisor or manager in this world that can limit how much you can make, because you make the decision every day as to whether you're going to go back to work there, as to whether you're going to stay with that company, or whether you're going to move on. You make the decision as to whether my skill set will be used or not. So you deciding to stay, there's nothing wrong with deciding to stay or leave, but you give that power away when you say, I can't make more than this because of my boss, because of my supervisor. Take that power, keep that power, own your decisions. You'll be in good shape. Thanks, Dr. Meredith. I appreciate you.
No problem. If you guys can give them a round of applause for the students that are left, I thank you guys so much for coming through. I know that I've learned a lot.